Morning, this is day 6. Alright, still on this -4% on the account. We ended up choosing 4 pairs for today. I really like Euro here. We're reaching basically overextended prices. This was overall a 1-hour intuition order block that I really liked, but it's still overall a very high area of resistance because we also have this 4-hour and we also have this high. So usually price reacts off this area before continuing higher. Let's look at price, right? We had this 4-hour before reaching that buy sell liquidity, then we mitigated, but look here, no gaps. Price is obviously slowing down. The same as kind of how we did here before a move lower, price slows down, or here it can be a good example, right? But the thing is, we took one high. This is a pretty strong high and all this trend on liquidity. So here we do, and we also mitigated this apparently. So this is a good chance. So we have a lot of buy sell liquidity getting swept. That's one first big influence. We have 4-hour stack liquidity swept, 4-hour POI. So I would call this a valid POI because we do have a gap here. On the 1-hour, we have buy sell liquidity again in lower time frame, buy sell liquidity and inversion. That's our trigger for looking at lower prices within a higher time frame context. So technically from here we can just look to target lower. We have to pay attention to this low because this has potential for a strong low, because this is usually a pattern I see on strong lows of very small FVG at the top of the move. Why I think is gonna get taken is because this is the first phase. We had the rally from the zone. The second phase was the reaction of it, and the third phase is gonna be invalidation if we see that intention lower. Let me try and make this a bit more clear for you because I actually have an example here to look at. Behavior of zones. First reaction of a zone, we get that deep pullback with exactly what we got here, rally higher, and the second phase is this when we come back, mitigate it slightly, exactly how in this case, slowly come lower and then invalidate. Boom, intention, see this the same as here, intention, mitigation, continuation, reversal, come back, mitigated, retrace towards a POI, and then just continue lower towards sell side and invalidating the zone. For me, I'm actually a bit confident in reaching lower here because we have this huge gap. Even though, oh my god, it's a 4-hour gap, it's so scary. Look at the 1-hour, 3 gaps. Really, this is just a void. This is just liquidity for price to fill, and I would like to see this buy sell liquidity getting swept here, but it's not a necessity. For me, it looks like a classic trending Asia. I can show you right now how this setup looks. This is a good example how Asia looks here, just trending lower. Retrace, market structure shift is exactly what we're getting right now. I think if we get an entry here, I'm just gonna execute, no hesitation whatsoever. We get 2.5 on the lows. So this right here, I want to see this close below. Why this matters is because of this previous FVG. So when price closes below it, it also closes below the previous FVG. If it doesn't close below the FVG and the low, we're very likely to on reaching back higher and manipulating. So that's why we gotta be careful. You can say we do have this this inverse right here, but it's just too risky to take like this. This is what you should pay attention if you're trading higher time frame inverses or zones, how price behaves at the high of the zone and at the low of the zone, right? Because the fact that we rejected here above the high, this is a huge indication of lower prices. If we want it to be bullish, we want to see a strong close above, a retracement, and then a continuation. For now, this is not a valid close, definitely not a valid close. But trending Asia a lot of time has some false moves. Like it doesn't go lower, you just have some bullshit moves and then goes manipulated and just leaves late. The only way you can trade trending Asia really properly is when you have POIs like this, usually 4-hour. Usually you want a high quality POI around where you want to take your entry, because that determines you're in a high quality trade. I would still like to see a bit of a deeper retracement here in the overall 1-hour FVG, because I don't really trust trending Asias like that. I mean, I trust the model, I just know it has a lot of fake moves. So by how and what I'm seeing behave here, is more likely that we're gonna go higher, because how we rejected this low, it's a bit more likely to go higher, mitigate, take those Frankfurt sellers, early sellers out, manipulate them, come into this 1-hour FVG which was barely mitigated, and then continue lower. So that's probably a bit of a smarter way to go about this, just waiting for a deeper pullback. I also like this, but you're definitely gonna see the high getting taken, and it's way better for us to wait for that in a case like this. And I also really like the sell side. It's very nice. It's very similar to what we had yesterday on GJ. Second TP, and we're just probably gonna target the fill as the last one. This will be the area price is very likely to draw towards. Like people, especially beginners or generally people, trade market structure shift like this. Are you fucking serious, bro? Like what are people thinking, bro, when they see price wick below the low and they say, okay, this is valid, bro? Like, bro, just think about it in terms of logic. Price is wicking that shit, is manipulating that shit, and is rejecting fast from it. Is that a good bearish signal for you? Hell fucking nah, bro. Like rejections are such a huge on the higher time frame. Wicks do matter so fucking much. This is not a valid market structure shift because we're not seeing intent. Sellers were pushed by buyers around this low and around this FVG. So what does this mean? We're respecting bullish order flow. Like just try. Reading price is not hard. You just gotta think about it logically. The way I read price is just using some like 5 main concepts like FVG, liquidity, inverses, sessions. That's like 4 concepts I'm using. The rest of it is just experience, to be honest, and this is just experience. Like I've gotta stop out many times on wicks like this before learning, okay, I need to wait for price to close. You know what I mean? If you're not trading inverses, you're trolling, to be honest. I'm not saying you necessarily have to trade only inverses, but you need to look at inverses, bro. Like inverses are so relevant in price. Actually, FVGs hold a lot more relevance than lows getting broken. Like lows getting broken don't necessarily mean much. What actually ends up having relevance is the FVG. Same in this case. Why this low is valid for us to look for price to close below it is because we had this previous FVG here. That this FVG makes the low valid, and when price wicked below this, it also wicked below the FVG. What does this signal? Buyers are respecting their POIs. Buyers are protecting their POIs. What does this mean? We're gonna go higher. If price closes below like this, what does this mean? Buyers are getting invalidated, sellers are stepping in. It's that simple, bro. Just like look at price like how we read a book, bro. It's just behavior. At the end of the day, tax is looking pretty decent. I'm being bullish. Probably take a trade off this inverse, just a demo, just to see how we do. Sell side, so we have 1 sell side, 2 sell side, 4 hours, so we have definitely a good area. We triggered edge, we did triggered edge. 1 hour inverse within a 4 hour, yeah, this is a good trade, but I do want to see a bit of a stronger close. Oof, but this 1 minute just tells me a lot. To be honest, we are in the process of inverting right here, but the 1 minute is extremely balanced. This is not real displacement. Slow price action, and we have this really strong order block here. Where I had one friend that would actually trade moves like this, bro. Like, why am I getting manipulated and then price runs into my favor? Because he would just enter on shit displacements, then and even on the 1 minute, bro, he would enter on shit displacements like this on the 1 minute, which is, it makes it 10 times worse. And then he would say like, why am I getting manipulated and price runs into my favor? Bro, what are you trading, bro? What is the momentum behind your move? How are you gonna have confluence that move is long last? How are you gonna have confluence if you trade move like this? You need to wait even for more confluence to confirm that you're seeing strong intent, because on the 1 minute there's a lot of fake moves. This is a fake move, this is a fake move, this is a fake move. It's full of fake moves. Well, see how 3 minute filters those, see these moves on the 1 minute are displacements, like very small displacements. You can get easily trapped within those, but when you go on the 3 minute, look, there's no gaps. 3 minute filters, that's why it's really good. We're gonna have a strong inversion. We just rated the buy side once again, so now I'm definitely expecting the sellers to step in. It's also one of the models that I have. Sweep of London highs, market structure shift, target lower, main target estimation lows. But yeah, it's one of the models I have. This is why models are useful for me. They're just scenarios I like to trade in, right? Your reversal, London continuation. These are just intraday profiles that I like to trade in. There are a lot of models, but it might seem complicated because, oh my god, there's so many strategies. I don't know what to do. For me, it's simple, bro. Like, for me, it's just staying organized. And I have higher time frame profiles. I have a strategy on higher time frame. It's weird, right? Because my strategies are very, very versatile. They're not like non-negotiable. Like, I have these rules and I stick to them every time. Nah, bro. Like, I like to be versatile and I like to flow like water. That's one way I describe my trading is I flow like water, depending on the market context. On the higher time frame, my strategy, you know what my strategy is? It's really simple. It's 2 confluences. That's all I need. 2 confluences to to look for a direction. 2 confluences to look for a trade. In this case, we have way more than 2 confluences, but if you look at only this case, we have buy sell liquidity rated and 1 hour inverse. That's 2 confluences, which makes it valid for me to target lower. On the bullish side, for now, we're having only 1 confluence because it's a 4-hour gap. For us to have the second confluence, we gotta invalidate this, and from here, look at prices higher. This higher time frame is so good, bro. What 2 confluences mean is that I can choose what confluences I want. Therefore, I do not have, for example, gap to gap. I want to see 2 gaps form, and that's a very limiting scenario. I can look for buy sell liquidity rate into inverse. I can look for gap to gap. I can look to inverse to gap, inverse gap to inverse, and so on. Like, there's a lot of ways I can trade, and that's I really like this new higher time frame approach, because higher time frame just positions myself in high quality scenarios. I used to get lost in intraday profiles, and I would take up trades. I would take trades that I count against higher time frame trend, and they would end up losing. And I did that consistently, and that made me unprofitable. When I was profitable, I had a period of 2 months when I was profitable. One of the big reasons I was profitable is because I was trading with higher time frame. Then I stopped trading with higher time frame, and my equity curve just fell off. Oof, bro, no way. No way we fucking melted that hard from that 1 minute order block, bro. Like, that sometimes is something else, bro. This is a 5R made in 10 minutes. 10 fucking minutes. I mean, this is definitely the area I'm looking to enter on. I don't really like entering of this gap. I feel like it's risky and relevant area still that inverse. Like, we just sacrificed too much, we got missed. I knew there was a chance we would have gotten missed. Why? Because of this 1 minute order block, right? Sometimes price form this type of order block around the low, and most often than not it's gonna hold that order block. So now I need to de-risk because we reached our first target, so I'm gonna probably go 0.5. I knew this is gonna hold, but we couldn't really take anything. We would have had 1.6, like even worse, like 1.12. so obviously that's garbage. We couldn't have taken that shit. On the 5 minute gap, a 2R on main objective, this probably would have been it, but yeah, my intuition was kind of signaling at this gap, but it was big as hell. Because of being big as hell, I usually take equilibrium entries, so I usually take a bit more deeper. But on the 5 minute, it wasn't big as hell. It was this. Our stop loss at most should have been here. We couldn't put it lower than this, so this would offer us 2R, and we would have gotten tapped in. But again, we should have probably seen that come above. And this 1 minute order block, really small 1 minute order block here, fucked us. We had the right idea, we just mismanaged. Same as GJ. It was a relatively hard place to try and figure out how to enter. When we first reacted here, it was worth to leave the trade open if we come back, but right now, I don't know, better off to wait for a re-entry if that's the case. And the only way I'm probably gonna re-enter is if this stays intact. This is gonna be my criteria for the slow to stay intact for me to still enter the trade. It was a very W day for me. Very W day. We were able to have the right bias. We were able to filter loss, early breaks lower, the fact that we rejected below the low. We were able to anticipate price leaving. So we did everything right except some very small mistake on entries, and sometimes it happens. When you're trading, when you're looking at entries, at least me, I should look at 5, 3 and 1, then take a decision mixed with all of what these time frames present. Today I kind of looked only at the 3 minute, and that's why I took my entry in a bad place. If I would have looked at a 5 minute, I would have taken my entry here, and we would have most likely secured a 2R. The trade ended up going towards our final higher time frame target, which was this fill of the 4-hour gap and our area. This trade would have been absolutely crazy. So 5R would have made at least 3%, I would say, with partials and everything on this trade. But yeah, the issue is really small. Like, it's something I discovered recently. So usually these are the time frames I use for my entry. So when deciding for the best area of entry, in this case the issue was that 1 minute and 5 minute were pointing at one area for the most optimal entries, and 3 minute was pointing somewhere else. So what it ended up becoming is that the 1 minute and 5 minute pointing in the same direction was signaling that that area was more high probability, because there were 2 time frames signaling into that area. So we shouldn't have looked at 3 minute, we should have looked at all of these time frames, which I didn't do. I just looked at the 3 minutes, so I kind of autopiloted. I don't know if that makes sense, because here 5 minute, right, we had a really solid gap. 5 minute was pointing at this gap. If you look on the 1 minute, 1 minute was pointing at this order block. Oh, okay, so 2 time frames were pointing at the same direction. 2 time frames were pointing at the same direction, and also 3 minute was pointing in the same direction, because we had this very relevant area that we had here, which got broken. Remember that we looked at this in London. We want to see this close below for price to continue lower, so this became a really pivotal point and really relevant point, because it ended up holding twice to price action. So this was 3 minute pointing at a really pivotal area, the most high quality area. Compared to this is the inverse here, is way more likely to get tapped. It's a way more probable setup. 1 minute was pointing at this order block, and 5 minute was pointing at this MVG. So all time frames were actually pointing at the same area. I just made the wrong decision because I kind of ran on autopilot and saw this really big gap on the 3 minute here, so I thought, okay, it's a big gap, I'm just choosing the middle of the range and looking for an equilibrium entry. But I didn't look at this, and I didn't look at the other time frames. I just looked at 3 minute, which was the mistake, right? Because we gotta use all time frames to determine what the most probable area is. So this was just like a small mismatch in my decision making, right? It was the wrong decision. Yeah, that's simply put, it was the wrong decision. This was definitely a low probability of price reaching here, because it didn't even end up reaching later on. Price just ended up holding that area that we built here. So this was clearly the most probable area for us to take our entries from, right? And RR was fine, because we could have sacrificed a bit of room here. So if we would have taken on the inverse, we could have taken stop loss like this, 8 pips. And to look at the second target, we would have had to wire. This didn't need to be our main target. This would have been our main target, because they're relatively close. And I said that even though this can be a fractal low and it has a chance of reacting, it already got invalidated by price having that reaction higher. So this actually became a target. Just this is not like massively strong liquidity. It did end up causing some trouble, but it was a monetary level. So it would have probably been a partial level at around 1 hour realistically, probably when price would have inversed. So yeah, probably around here on price slowing down. I'm not sure I would have necessarily closed, probably on this and probably on this, and very likely in terms of confluence to be closed at this. So it's exactly on the liquidity level. So let's say we secured 50 1 hour 80 around here, and we let the runner go towards final. So we would have made the 2%. Because you missed profit, you have this initial thought of getting mad of thing. If you focus on results, you're gonna get mad. If you keep thinking about, okay, I would have made 2 to 3% on this trade, bro, I just got missed, bro, why does the market keep doing this to me, bro? Like, why am I getting punished for every mistake? If you think like that, you're gonna suffer, and that suffering is gonna turn into really bad trades. So a mindset that I build with repetition, with repeating to myself a certain thoughts, is just don't care, bro. Just look at the process. Okay, we got missed. Does that really fucking matter? To be honest, it doesn't matter. What matters is, what did we learn today? Was there a way we could have been in this trade, right? If there was a way, that means there is room for improvement, and we need to improve. So that's where our focus should be, right? And that's pretty much it. Like today I learned something new. So concluding the GJ trade also, so the trade was really good. Actually, it was really good. It was just that I kind of ran on old programming, an old protective system, an outdated protective system that I have. When I don't see price being really clean, I don't take trades. But I realized with time and seeing good trades like this play out, is that what actually matters is relevance. So the story that price tells you. What does the market tell you? In this case, it was really clean context. It had a lot of relevance, this entry here. This really good area here that ended up holding is very similar to Euro today when we broke below that inverse. When we broke below it, that was our signal. We didn't need to wait for more, because what price wasn't clean. Price, this was a valid displacement. You had one gap here, so it was valid. It's just like an old protective system. And the second entry, yes, as a main position is really risky to take, because you're really chasing price. But as a scaling, it would have been good. So going like 1% on the main position up, and this is 0.5 would have been perfect. So it's just a matter of learning, right? So from the GJ trade, what did we learn? We learned that relevance is bigger than cleanness. I don't know how to write that shit. So what price does is more important than how clean price is, or your risk profile. 0505. This is some a potential way of doing this. I would have of doing this trade. It would have should have been a 1 and a 05 here, but it could have been also 0505. So I need to keep this risk profile in mind. There are cases where we can enter like this. So I discovered a new risk profile, a new way to enter a trade. This is very useful. So what's the best decision? This is a question that I need to ask myself consistently, because if I would have asked myself before around this trade when I took the entry, I would have asked myself what's the best decision, I would have came up and discovered that the best decision is going half risk. I just didn't ask myself that decision, and I didn't adapt on the moment because I didn't ask myself that question. So what's the best decision? Really important question. And today we learned that we need to look at all time frames every time. This needs to be a consistent approach, and when two point in the same direction, when at least 2 point at the same POI, that's where we take our entry. I feel like it's the smartest way to go about it. So we learned basically about entries a lot. It's just refining my entries and updating my entries, to be honest, because as I said, I have really good entries. Just I need to kind of just keep developing it. This is why as a trader it never stops, bro. You keep improving. Like, this is exactly what I'm doing right now. My entries are good, yes, but that doesn't mean they do not have room for improvement. They definitely have. Yeah, that was it for today. We learned something really valuable here. I'm gonna try and keep this in mind as much as I can until it becomes subconscious. And yeah, I'm gonna see you tomorrow.